Quitting a 9-to-5 job to trade full-time is the fastest way to blow up your account and end up begging your boss for your old job back. But let's be real, every trader dreams of it. No commute, no boss, no colleagues, just pure bliss and freedom. So how do you know when is the right time to make the leap? That's what we are breaking down today. My name is Brett Goh and I've been trading for nearly 7 years. And I don't just trade, I document every win and loss publicly on my second channel. No rented Lambos, no fake screenshots here. I've also helped hundreds of students become 6-figure funded traders. And by the way, I've lived both sides of it, the 9-to-5 office grind and now trading full time. So, I don't want your money, I want you to become a better trader, which is why let's dive into it. First of all, let me share with you the reality of trading. A lot of people think that trading full-time is about sitting on a beach, drinking a margarita with 5 models on your side and making more money on one day than your boss makes in a month. Man, that's a fantasy. Because the ugly truth is that profits are not given. They are rented from the market, and the rent is due every single day in a form of discipline. Full-time trading doesn't really make your life easier. It just makes your flaws louder, which is why if you're emotional, the market will expose it. If you're undisciplined, the market will punish you for it. And if you don't have a system and you're chasing freedom, then you will end up with no freedom at all. So before you even think about quitting a job, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions and just answer them honestly. The first question is, have I been consistently profitable for at least 6 to 12 months? Not 1 month, not 1 week, not 1 day, but 6 to 12 months. Because if you don't have a profitable track record, then you haven't given yourself sufficient evidence that you are indeed actually competent. And if you're not competent, then you are not going to make a living from the markets. I always tell my students this: 1 good month means nothing. If your strategy cannot survive 100 trades, it will not survive a year. So until you develop a profitable track record of at least 6 to 12 months, which means, like I said, you are making money, you are ending the month off positive, month after month, for at least 6 to 12 months, you shouldn't be thinking about quitting your job. You've just got more work to do, right? So you're much better off just getting better at trading, getting some consistent results before you can actually stack up proof that you are who you say you are and you are indeed actually capable of pursuing this craft. The next question you want to ask yourself is, do I have 6 to 12 months of living expenses saved up? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't be quitting your job to trade. When you don't have any living expenses saved up, and the only way you can pay for those expenses is through your trading income, what's going to happen next is that you're going to wake up every single day, you're going to go to the charts, and then you are going to enter on every single move the market does. Oh, prices went up, let me enter. Oh, prices go down, let me enter. Right? Because now you are forced to actually make money. So as a result, you're going to end up making bad decisions, which means you're going to take low property setups, which means you're going to lose money. And ironically, this is going to cause you to lose your dream of becoming a full-time trader, right? Because you're losing every single trade that you take because now you have no choice but to make money. So you can see the irony is that like you quit your job to trade full-time, but then now because of the fact that you have to make money to pay your living expenses, you make bad decisions and you lose even more money. Because one thing you must understand about trading is that trading income is not steady. It's not like a monthly paycheck where you're going to get paid $3,000 at the end of each month. Every single month, no matter how you show up to your workplace whatsoever, you're going to get paid regardless. With trading, it's different, right? It's like some months you're going to lose money, some months you're going to make money, and some months you're going to make a lot of money, some months you're going to lose a little bit of money. So it's completely unpredictable. So without that cushion of a paycheck, stress will bleed into your trades. And that will cause you to make lousy trades, which will cause you to lose money, right? So if you don't have at least 6 to 12 months of living expenses saved up, you're much better off building that buffer before you even think about quitting a job. The third question you want to ask yourself is, do I actually love trading? Or do I just hate my job? Because most people don't actually want to trade full-time. They just want to escape their boss, right? The boss that they hate. And that's the worst reason to become a trader. Because when you start trading, you will still have a boss. Except this time around, the boss doesn't have a name. The boss doesn't have a face. The boss is the market. And if you fight against the market always wins. Right? If you fight against the boss always wins. For example, when you start losing money. For example, when you start losing a trade and you start getting into like a losing streak, and now you feel the urge to actually make back what you have lost. So you start revenge trading. You start fighting the market. You start imposing your will onto the market. And when that happens, like I said, the market will always win. You're playing a game where you have no control over, right? So if you're venting your frustration for your boss on the market, you're going to take bad trades, lose money. If you are trying to get back at the market for causing you to lose money, you're going to take bad trades, you're going to lose money. As simple as that. In order to help you answer this question, I've got a follow-up question for you. And that is, do you actually love your job? I want you to really take some time, sit here right now, pause this video and think about it. Do you actually love your job? Right? Because for some people, they actually love what they do, right? They love taking care of the animals in the zoo. They love saving planet Earth by recycling. I don't know, they actually love what they do, right? Because what they do actually have an impact. So if that's the case, then no amount of money that you can make from trading could justify you giving up what you love. Because I don't know about you, but I'd rather choose what I love to do compared to working for something and getting a lot of money, but I don't really love to do it. Because when you start doing that, you're eventually going to encounter obstacles and challenges, and you're eventually going to quit because you don't have that fire within you. You don't have that passion within you to allow you to keep going because you don't actually love to do that, right? So do you actually love your job? Do you actually love trading? Do you love the financial markets? Because if your love for the financial markets outweigh your love for your job, your craft, then yeah, maybe consider quitting your job. But bear in mind that love is different from infatuation, right? It's like back in high school, I was infatuated with this girl, right? I like how pretty she looked. I like how gorgeous she is. I like the way that she smiles. But that's not love. That is just infatuation, right? That is just a temporary attraction. So ask yourself, do you actually love the financial market? Or are you just infatuated with the market? Are you still on the honeymoon phase where you're making money due to beginner's luck? So as a result, you kind of like trading, right? But you don't actually love trading, right? Because you don't love the ups and downs. You don't love the emotional roller coaster that you have to go through every single day. If that's the case, that's not love. That's just infatuation. So if your love for the markets does not outweigh your love for your job, you shouldn't be thinking about quitting your job at all. So those are the 3 questions that I really want you to ponder upon. So on a Sunday, allocate 1 hour and sit there on your desk with a notebook and a pen and with no distractions, no music, no Netflix, no junk food whatsoever, and just honestly reflect and answer these questions. If you can answer these questions, you will be able to find out the answer on whether you should actually quit your job or not. Anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is my own experience, right? Because you might be wondering what I did when I was in your exact position, because you shouldn't be copying what I do right now because I'm already full-time trading. And you might be thinking, what did Brett do when he was working a 9-to-5 job? So about 5 years ago, I was working as an intern in this real estate company, right? That is quite big in Singapore. So what I'll do is that in the morning, I'll wake up around 6 a.m. and then I will take the train to the office, which is in the central business district in Singapore. And then I'll go to the office, right? And then I will actually do some paperwork. I will actually work on some Excel spreadsheets and try to compute the property taxes, boring shit that can be automated by AI right now. And then what happened was that at the start of the internship, I promised myself that at the end of these 6 months, I would master trading, right? That was the one big promise that I had for myself because I really do not like this life of working a 9-to-5. So I told myself that whatever free time that I have doing this 9-to-5 job, I'm going to be pouring it into learning, studying, back testing, practicing, and actually trading, right? So that I can actually get good at this craft so that eventually I could, quit the 9-to-5 job so that eventually I don't even have to work a 9-to-5 job, right? So I will go to the office and reach the office around 9 a.m. And like I said, I will actually compute the property taxes. I will actually work on my laptop for quite some time. And then when the lunchtime appears, I would eat alone, right? Because the colleagues were all midwife, right? 50-year-old women, right? Which I can't really relate, so I just eat alone. And then what I'll do during lunchtime is that I would go and bring my food back to the office, stay in a tiny little office pod, right? Which is right outside the main office. And then what I'll do is that I will actually pull out my iPad and then I'll just watch trading courses and I'll watch a bunch of trading videos while I was eating, right? So that I can really learn how the professionals does it. And as I do that, I will also take down notes, and I will also try to practice what I've learned onto the charts itself, right? Mark up the support and resistance levels, the trend lines, the weird chart patterns. I will try to memorize everything. I'll try to just soak up information like a sponge. And then I would do that until it's time to go back to work, right? So when it's time to go back to the work at around like 1 p.m., I'll go back to the office, continue on the laptop, right? Just keying in numbers, crunching in numbers under the bright fluorescent light, which is honestly quite depressing in a tiny little office cubicle. And at that point of time, I was like, I just want to get this shit over with, man. Like, I keep on looking at the clock and thinking, wow, there is still 5 more hours till I end this job. Why does time fly so slow? And I keep on like looking at my laptop and then looking at the clock, hoping that time fly faster. And yeah, like at the point of time, like I said, I was trying to perfect the craft of trading, or rather I was an apprenticeship trying to get better at trading. So what I'll do is that I would try to complete my 9 to 5 work like as fast as possible. If my manager asked me to complete the work by the end of the day, I will try to complete it in the morning. Because if I'm able to complete the work in the morning, in the afternoon, I can just go outside of my office, sit in the tiny little office spot where no one can disturb me, and just continue studying trading courses, continue writing down notes, continue looking at charts on my iPad. So yeah, that's pretty much how I spend my time from like 9 to 5. It's like, I would do whatever work that is necessary just to complete the internship. But if I have any sort of free time, I would spend it on trying to master trading. And then around 5 p.m., I will take the train back home, right? Another 1 hour back home. And then I'll reach home around like 6 to 7 p.m. where I will have dinner. And then once I'm done with dinner, straight away, go to my room, lock my bedroom door, and then just stay on there with my huge monitor, which is quite cheap. It was like a cheap monitor. And like this cracked iPhone 7, I will just binge watch trading courses again. And this time around, I not only binge watch trading courses, I will also like practice and backtest. Right, I'll backtest my trading strategy. I will do a lot of chart markups, do a lot of forward tests, and see whether like my chart markups actually work, right? Like whether they actually perform exactly the way that I want them to perform. And then I will also be reviewing the trades that I've taken on the demo account, and I'll just be like starting and just trying to get better. And then a lot of times I'll be on my laptop and I will like be struggling to like not fall asleep and just like this the whole time until around 10 to 11 p.m. So around 10 to 11 p.m., that is where I went to sleep, and I wake up in the morning around like 5 a.m. And then 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. since I got this time, right, this 4 hours, I would try to do as much as I can, right? I would once again just review the trades I've taken, journal the trades, study the charts, backtest, right? Do a lot of reps until around 9 a.m., start the job and do the entire cycle over and over again for 6 months straight. And during this entire 6 months, my commitment to myself was that I was going to master trading, or at least like master technical analysis, which is why in order for me to achieve that goal, I had to disappear from the world, right? So throughout this entire 6 months, my phone was on airplane mode like the whole time. My friends could not reach me. My family could not reach me. No one could reach me whatsoever, right? Because it was either I was going to work 9 to 5 job, or I was going to study trading, right? There was no like other distractions whatsoever. And then around 3 months into the internship, I started my first live account. And bear in mind that I was earning about $650 from the 9 to 5 internship. And I'll deposit that $650 into my first live account, right? And I was quite proficient at technical analysis at the point of time, right? I knew how to analyze the charts. I knew how to mark up support and resistance levels. I knew a few candlestick patterns that work, right? So as a result, I'll try to spot those candlestick patterns at a support level, and I will enter for a buy right there, and then it'll work, right? So I don't know, is it beginner's luck, or is it because I'm actually getting kind of decent at analyzing the charts? But I managed to turn the $650 into $1,340 in just 48 hours. And when I do that, I felt like I was on top of the world. I felt like I was a king. I felt like I was a professional trader. I was like, this is it. I'm gonna quit my job, right? I literally just doubled my paycheck in just 48 hours. And I had spent the past 30 days slaving my ass off in an office cubicle under the depressing fluorescent lights, having to eat lunch alone just to make $650 in an entire month. And now you just tell me that I make like $650 in 48 hours? Wow. I'm on top of the world, baby. How do I keep this? How do I continue getting better at this? How can I make more money from the markets, right? So I start getting euphoric. I start getting overconfident, right? So what I did was that I actually started ramping up the lot size, right? Started to actually go from 0.1 lot to 0.2 lot to eventually 0.5 lot, over leveraging, over risking, and then boom, eventually my lucky streak ran out, right? I hit a big loss, which wiped out my entire account. I watched as my entire 1.3k go to $0 as my account get margin called. And I was depressed. I was so depressed because like I told myself that if I could turn that 1.3k into 2k, I would buy the new iPhone. And I wouldn't be using this cracked iPhone 7 with the shitty home button. And bear in mind, that trade that I got margin called, I actually took it when I was still at the office, right? So it was around like 3 p.m., right? So imagine I was at the office, and then now I got margin caught, and my face is like still trying to stay calm, right? Because my colleagues were around me and I don't want to embarrass myself whatsoever. And then after I end work on that day, I went to the train station. I walk into the train, and as usual, it's crowded because it's peak hour. And I look around and I see everybody's face is like depressed and tired and exhausted from like the 9 to 5 job, right? And I was devastated because I just lost everything, right? And I realized that I could not even afford dinner for that day, because I had less than $2 in my bank account, because I have deposited all my paycheck into that live account, right? So as a result, I did not have dinner whatsoever on the day. I went back home, locked myself in a room, studied the charts, and just keep on thinking and reflecting about what went wrong. What caused me to actually blow up the account? What caused me to lose everything in that one trade, right? So I'll just like continue to review, journal. Okay, what went wrong? What went right? What can I do better next time? How can I prevent myself from making this mistake again? Right, and I just keep on doing that. Now, bear in mind that that was my first live account. So I waited for my next paycheck to come in. And when my next paycheck come in, which is around another $650, once again, deposited into my live trading account and then blew it. And then I would journal, review. And then I will get another paycheck and I'll deposit it into my account again, and then I'll blow it in a matter of few days. Like, yes, I'll make a lot of money here and there, right? I'll turn 650 into 900 to 1,500, but the result is always the same. I always end up blowing the account, right? It's like this boom and bust cycle where I'll make money, lose money, make money, lose money. And what's the point of making money if you can't keep it? Now, I was so desperate to actually make money from trading that I would do whatever it takes to succeed, right? So every single time I blew an account, every single time I lost a trade, I would put it in my journal. And in fact, guess what I found? This. You can see this right here. This was my exact trading journal back in 2021. Every single trade that I've lost, I'll just put it in here. You can see, stopped out, okay, because you entered at the wrong price. You rush into the entry. Stopped out because you did not follow my trade plan. Okay, this is the lesson that you have to learn. Stopped out again. Okay, this is because you entered at this trend line and you didn't mark up the trend line properly. I'll write down every single mistake that I commit, and I will actually put down the lesson that I've learned from this particular trade so that I will not commit the same mistake again. And I did this for 6 months straight. Like you can see, all of these are the trades that I've taken during the entire 6 months. In the movies, the Rocky cutscenes lasted 6 seconds. But in my life, it lasted 6 months. It was like 6 months of just eating shit. And I just keep on telling myself that it's either I succeed or I go broke trying. There is no in between whatsoever. I had to do everything I can to make this work. This was my only way out of my miserable life. And indeed, I did go broke multiple times. I blew 7 accounts, failed 5 funding challenges, and lost $10,000, right? Lost all my life savings, lost every single paycheck that I made from the internship, all to the market. To be honest, I didn't know when I would become profitable, but I just knew that I would not quit. That I can promise myself. I promised myself that I would not stop no matter what until I win, until I eventually become profitable. So I kept going every single day. I kept sharpening my sword. I kept chipping in, right? Kept like holding my skill and trying to get better at trading every single day without fail. And I did that every single day for the last 7 years. And I'm still doing it today right now. And if you don't believe me, sort my videos on my YouTube channel by the oldest. And you will see this video that I published 3 years ago, which has the title along the lines of, I quit my 9 to 5 job to trade. That was me. I went through that shit. In fact, you know what I found recently? Like this old notebook right here in my bookshelf. It was extremely dusty, and when I opened it, there was like a fly that jumped out. I shit you not. Let me read you what I wrote down in here when I was working the 9-to-5 job, to give you some form of motivation. Here it goes. Being an entrepreneur and a trader is literally two of the hardest jobs in the world, but they are also the most rewarding in the end. You know what sucks more? Forcing yourself to work a shitty 9-to-5 job that you freaking hate. Making someone else rich. Getting promoted only to find out that your pay only increases by $100. Having lunch alone because you can't vibe with the other office workers who are in their 50s. 40-hour work weeks, more like 60-hour work weeks if you consider all the time you spend winding down and drinking because you hate the bloody job. And oh, the freaking commute time. Took me 2 hours to travel back and forth from the workplace. F that. This was the exact words that I wrote in the journal itself back in 2021. And by the way, this is coming from a guy who have Asian parents. Like the path they have set up to me is get straight A's in school, go to university, get a stable 9-to-5 job in the bank as a doctor or as a lawyer, whatever, and then make 5K to 10K a month, and then get a mortgage and a car. That was their vision. That was their definition of success. But it was not mine. Because I define success as getting what you want from life. And what I wanted from life is to actually make money doing what I love, which is analyzing the financial markets. So at the age of around 19 years old, right, I think 1 year after I was in a 9-to-5 job, or rather like 6 to 12 months after I actually kind of get proficient at trading and I make my first $10,000 a month from trading, I looked at my mom straight in the eyes and I told her, Mom, I'm not going to university. And she was enraged. I still remember her face getting red. Her veins started popping out. She was like, what? You have to go to university. After all, I didn't came here from China just so that I could raise a useless bum like you. You have to go to university. You have to get a 9-to-5 job. You have to make me proud. There is no way this trading thing could work out, right? You're going to make money here, but eventually going to lose it. And then you will never become profitable. Like, you can't make a living from this. Bear in mind, she's like a traditional woman, right? So she doesn't really understand technology. She don't even understand English, all right? So that's that. And the thing that hurts me the most is the fact that she was right. Because right after she told me that, I went into the market, tried to vent my frustration on the market, took the $10,000 that I've made, and I've risked it all on the next trade. And I lost it all, right? Lost it all once again, right? Blew the 6 account at that point of time. And then I felt dejected, I felt disappointed, I felt devastated. And I realized that she was right today. She might be right tomorrow. She might be right next month. She might be right next year. But eventually she's going to be so wrong. Because I'm going to do whatever I can to succeed at trading. And I'm going to get that one big payoff that will make all of these losses worth it. I'm going to get so good at trading that eventually I'm going to make $1 million. And then I'm going to show her that I've made $1 million. And then now she has no choice but to trust me. And that is when I realized that I had to pick up a sword and kill my parents' dreams in order to save mine. In order for me to live life on my own terms, I had to forsake their terms. And if that means that I don't get their approval for quite some time, then so be it. Because at least I will have a life that I have full control over and I can live with no regrets. So bear in mind, I wasn't just fighting the market. I was fighting my family's definition of success. And the version of me who wanted to quit every single day. The version of me who wanted to just throw in a towel and just pursue the nice conventional path. At least there I will get security and certainty. So yeah, on that day where I told my mom, that was also the same day where I promised myself that I will eventually make $1 million from trading. And when I do, I will show that 7 figures in my bank account to my mom, and she will have no choice but to allow me to pursue trading full time because I have given her sufficient evidence that I'm actually going to succeed at this. Right? So that $1 million was my goal. Now, did it happen overnight? Did it happen in 1 year? No. After I told her that, I still continued blowing accounts. I still failed funding challenges. I still lost money. I didn't become profitable until 2 years later. And I didn't become consistently profitable until 3 years later. And I didn't make my first million until 4 years later. 4 years. 4 years. When I finally made my first million, right, I showed my mom the 7 figures and she's like this was her expression. Wow, okay. All right, son, go do whatever you want, right? Go do whatever you want. Because by that point, I've already gotten so good at trading that I not only gave her sufficient evidence that I'm actually competent at this, but I also gave myself enough evidence. Because I've been through hell and I've came up alive and I'm thriving right now. So I pretty much gave her all the evidence that she needed to allow me to pursue trading full time. So here we are. As I am recording this video speaking to you. So once again, here's my brutal advice. I'm not saying don't quit your job. I'm saying do not quit your job until your numbers prove that you are ready. If you don't have a profitable track record, if you don't have sufficient data that prove that your strategy actually works, if you don't have sufficient skin in the game, you shouldn't be thinking about quitting your job to trade. And a lot of traders think that their 9 to 5 job is what's holding them from success. It's what's holding them back. But the truth is, it's not the 9 to 5. It's the 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's what you do during those hours before you start working and after you end work that determine whether you get competent at trading or not. Because you can either spend those time sleeping or like relaxing or watching Netflix, or you can spend those time building a skill set that will eventually pay off in the long run. Now, if you can't stay consistent when you are tired after a long day of work, when you've only got a few hours, what makes you think that quitting your job will suddenly make you profitable, suddenly make you disciplined with 10 free hours? More time does not fix bad habits. More time doesn't fix inconsistency. At the end of the day, the work needs to be done. And until you do the work, right, you don't deserve to even think about quitting trading. So here's my rule. Do not quit your 9 to 5 job until your trading income from your 5 to 9 hours have surpassed your full-time income from your 9 to 5 hours for 6 months straight. Because that's the proof that you're ready. And until you have achieved that, don't even fantasize about it. Just keep on focusing on using the 5 to 9 hours to actually get better at trading, right? To become a skilled trader. Go through the free courses that I have on YouTube, right? Master technical analysis, right? Get proficient at analyzing the charts. Understand where the market is trying to go, what's the objective of price, where's the available liquidity. Understand risk management, understand trading psychology, right? Master all of this stuff, right? Slowly build brick by brick. Take one step at a time every single day. Eventually, you're going to get good at trading. Eventually, the money that you make from trading will outweigh the money that you have made from your full-time job, and that is the time where you can consider quitting your job. Since you're watching this, that means that you are dedicated and committed to actually making this work, which is why I want to tell you something that no one has told me, and I wish someone has told me this, and that is when you finally quit your job to trade, understand that when you turn your passion into a business, when you turn something that you like to do for fun into something that you have to make it work in order to pay the bills, it's going to be much less enjoyable to actually trade, right? Because now you feel more emotional, right? Since you have burned the boats, you have literally got rid of the plan B, and now you have no choice but to make your plan A work, which is just to trade full time and actually make money that can pay the bills so that you can actually survive. And when you do that, like I said, it doesn't feel like a hobby anymore. It feels more like a chore. It feels more like a business that you have to manage on a day-to-day. And that period is tough. But remember, you either die or you adapt. And since you're not going to die, you might as well adapt. That's the only choice. That's the only way out. So it will take some time for you to adapt and slowly adjust to the new trading routine. But eventually, if you're able to survive that stage, and you start getting to that point where you can regulate your emotions, you can stick to your system, you can manage your risk, you have put in the right systems and processes you need to actually get good at this thing, that is when you will truly become free. And that's where I am right now. Nowadays, I trade full-time and I'm as happy as a clown and I'm as free as seagulls. Every single morning, I wake up, I sit on my balcony and admire the view that overlook the entire sea and the city. And I'm just grateful. And then sometimes I'll just think about like the price I had to pay in order to get this beautiful view. Because nothing in the market is free. Profits cost discipline. Consistency costs time. Mastery costs practice. If you're not willing to pay the price, stop complaining about the results you have never earned. So if you're in that phase and you're going through the rocky cutscenes, my only advice for you is eat shit for 5 years so you can eat caviar for a lifetime. Because if you can really just eat shit for 5 years, right, just put your head down and just work and just focus on becoming a skilled trader, eventually you will understand how the game is being played. Eventually you are going to make money, right? But it's the eating shit for 5 years part that is difficult. And that's the part where most people can't tolerate. If you can just surpass that, eventually the money will come. And when the money do come, you can choose whether you want to quit your job, and you can even choose to fire your boss, right? Because that's how much money you'll be making. So do not quit because you are chasing freedom tomorrow. Quit because you have built consistency, you have stacked the savings, which is sufficient to pay off your expenses, and you love the craft enough to do it for the rest of your life. So if you're serious about building consistency, becoming profitable while working a 9-to-5 job, check out this free training that I've created for you, right? It's a 2-hour exclusive private training, which is going to change the way that you trade forever, right? So click on it right now. And as always, remember, you're just one trade away. Mwah.